Thank you. Well, just to refresh everyone's memory, in the election 2 years ago on Measure V, there were 34,335 votes cast, and there were 20,529 no votes. No, we don't want a charter. And 13,806 yes, 40.2% to 59.8%. So, Ms. Barlow, in the discussions, did the committee members talk about this fact that just when they started, it was just a year, that their neighbors and residents, citizens had voted down a charter, and why would they feel it would be important to go ahead with a charter anyway, when it's kind of like when you tell kids, what part of no don't you understand?
Well, I think there's actually several answers to that, Councilmember Leece. I think, first of all, it was clear that there were some committee members who don't think we need a charter, and they very thoroughly expressed that viewpoint throughout the process. But at the same time, I think they recognized that the task of this committee wasn't to debate the wisdom of having a charter, but to formulate a charter that could then be debated in this forum and then put on the ballot to be voted up or down.
I noticed that looking at several other charters, they address a number of topics that aren't in this particular charter. And I wondered, two that come to mind are city commissions, both as to their function, their pay, their selection, or whatever, or even which ones exist. And another thing that I saw in several charters was franchises. And did the committee look at that and decide they didn't want to bother putting it in the charter, or did it even come up to begin with?
I don't recall a specific discussion of franchises, but I do know that they had a number of charters in their packets to begin with. And I heard many of them talk about going online and researching other cities' charters. So they really had a full gamut of different issues that were raised in other charters that they could have raised to incorporate into this draft charter. I don't remember anybody being particularly interested in talking about franchises, so I don't recall that it ever made the list.
Yeah. And for example, commissions and committees, or not even committees, but commissions are in a great many different charters, and they didn't ever.
I think they seem satisfied with what we have in our municipal code, and I don't recall any specific discussion on that issue either.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
And one point on that, just to piggyback on that. If you look at cities' first charters, commissions and all these things just really aren't the things that go into the first draft charter 1.1 or 1.2. These things are added on. You look at Newport Beach, they're changing their charter, 3-4 times in the last 10, 12 years. They add more and more on it when they get into more issues when the public wants to vote on it. But I don't think, I mean, it'd be unusual to have a city, its first charter, have a whole thing on commissions when they wrote their first charter.
Support of Costa Mesa having a charter, specifically this one, just like our surrounding cities in Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, and Irvine. I voted for our last charter, and so did many others. Some said they wanted a charter, just not this one. So the city council developed a team to put one together. I think this is a charter the taxpayer will support. Why? For two simple reasons. One, local control, and two, it saves taxpayer money. An example is that the charter committee considered elections by district. They discussed it, they debated it, and they decided against it, at least for now. But there's an assembly member from West Covina that wants to tell Costa Mesa what is right and legislate our behavior. I believe in home rule. I believe that government close to the people is best. I believe that local control is best for the taxpayer, in my opinion. The second issue on saving taxpayer money, I sat in the chambers of Newport Beach and watched their city council. They voted to outsource some landscaping efforts. They also, in the consent calendar, which is considered routine, eliminated prevailing wage. In the back row, they didn't have the union bosses lining people up. They didn't have the union lawyers threatening to sue. They didn't have residents outrages talking that this city is in crisis, and the Daily Pilot wrote no follow-up of the outrageous behavior of their city council. So what makes that difference? Why can Newport Beach do that and Costa Mesa can't? It's not because their residents are any different. It's not because their council is any different. The sole purpose is they are a charter and we are currently a general law city. I'd like to talk quickly about the 60-40 math that everyone wants to talk about. My math looks at 40% of our residents said, absolutely, we want a charter. A lot also said we want a charter, but just not this one. When you look at what it takes to pass a charter, all those 40 people, of course they're going to vote for this one. It means that out of those 6 out of 10 that didn't, we only need 1 out of those 6 to say, you know what, this one works for the city of Costa Mesa. So I thank those committee members for spending about a year on this and deliberating. I appreciate staff working with them to help them make informed decisions, and I appreciate the work of each and every member of our city council. Thank you.
The floor.
Hi, I'm coming to speak today not under a name but under a number 29, because I want people to understand something very important about the Brown Act, which is that you cannot require people to give their names or their addresses when they speak, and I certainly hope that this council will take a closer look at the Brown Act in the weeks to come. I am an attorney who deals with government.
Sir, let me just, I'll hold your time for 1 second. You don't have to give names. People know they don't have to give names here if they don't. Thank you for putting a number down so we at least call you, but they're not required to.
Great, thank you. I'm an attorney dealing with government accountability issues. I was also a contract attorney a while ago at Jones Day, which had some wonderful Christmas parties, so I'd like to thank the council for that. I'm most familiar with the Anaheim and Irvine charters, both of which are quite different, and in Anaheim's case is quite concerning. Whenever you're talking about a charter, you are dealing with a big problem of how you are going to be able to control the government. And for those people who have been asking, why is this coming up again, I think it's pretty clear, based on especially what was done in 2012, that the council is electorate shopping. That is, trying to find out if perhaps a non-presidential year electorate will be more favorable than a presidential year electorate because it is smaller. I want to read you the section of the charter that bothered me even more than some of the substantive ones that I don't like. That is section 806, construction and interpretation. Except as provided by mandatory language in this charter, the language contained in this charter is intended to be permissive rather than limiting, and shall be liberally and broadly construed in favor of the exercise of power to govern with respect to any matter which is a municipal affair. I want to talk to my conservative friends here because I know that when many of you talk about the U.S. Constitution, you really think highly of the 10th Amendment and the idea that we are a government of enumerated powers with rights reserved to the people. I want you to understand that that is exactly the opposite of what this is. This is a document which says what is enumerated are limits on the city council, and what isn't enumerated, or if they can figure out a way around it, they can do whatever they want. The notion that the mayor presented that a first draft of a charter should be small and limiting is sort of like saying that, well, a criminal code at first should just have a few laws, you know, larceny, murder, things like that, and we'll come up with the other ones later to stop people when they do bad things. As for the speaker who talked about how great it was that Newport Beach was able to eliminate prevailing wage without the public noticing or without reporting on it, all I've got to say is I thought you were going to conclude that's horrifying that they were able to do that without any control or public input. And I don't think that that's what the citizens of any city want. And you're lucky you don't have it now, and I hope it never happens to you.